and to at least 49. The attacks also wounded more than 20 others. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has placed New Zealand on its highest security threat level. 3 men and 1 woman are now in police custody. They are reported to hold extremist views but were not on any police watch lists. 1 gunman is from Australia and live streamed the attack online. The government and police authorities condemned the terrorist attacks.
1 person, a male in his late 20s, has been charged with murder and should appear in the Christchurch court tomorrow morning. 3 other people were apprehended. We believe one of those persons who was armed and was at the scene may have had nothing to do with this incident. And the 2 other people that have been apprehended, again in possession of firearms in the general environment, we are working through to understand what their involvement is.
It is clear that this can now only be described as a terrorist attack. From what we know, it does appear to have been well planned. These are people who I would describe as having extremist views that have absolutely no place in New Zealand and, in fact, have no place in the world.
Well, for more on this, we are now joined in the studio by Dr. Mustafa Ali. He is a terrorism and security expert based here in Nairobi. Thank you very much for coming in, Dr. Mustafa. Well, New Zealand's Prime Minister has said that the attacks appear to have been well planned. Do you think this could have been prevented at all?
To an extent, it's possible to prevent this kind of attacks, terrorist attacks. The challenge is many government agencies in the West, in Australia, in New Zealand, have a kind of a poster boy of a terrorist as that Muslim man with a beard coming from Afghanistan or Egypt or Saudi Arabia in the Middle East or Somalia. So they don't pay a lot of attention to the white supremacists who have actually come out very clearly, publicly, and stated what their mission is.
So you're saying their attention has been elsewhere?
Their attention has been elsewhere.
And obviously this is unprecedented in New Zealand. You don't think of New Zealand as suffering from this sort of a terrorist incident. How are New Zealanders reacting to this news?
Yeah, New Zealand is a very peaceful place, and you would least expect that this kind of an attack would take place. And if you look at some of those attackers, their rumblings on the internet, on their Facebook, from Australia, basically...
Are they all from Australia?
Sorry?
We know at least one person.
One from Australia, basically choosing a target in a country that is very peaceful, and obviously that is going to terrorize the people in Australia. And if you look at what they have said, you know, these are people who identified with or are inspired by war criminals, Radovan Karadzic, Hitler, and people like Anders Behring, the Norwegian, who killed about 70 or over 70 people in Norway.
And well, obviously we're talking about terrorism here. It's a global problem. What do you think governments need to do? What more do they need to do to counter this problem?
Yeah, the challenge now we are facing is that we are confronted with the 2 extremisms. The extremism by non-state actors that we have come to know, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, and then the extremism that is coming from state actors, particularly the nationalist leaders who spew this kind of hatred. And people like Tarrant, they ride on this kind of nationalistic, neo-fascist sentiments that is coming from, including heads of states who control governments and have this kind of hateful, not exactly ideology, but narratives that then these kind of people take advantage of. KKK, and this is not new, by the way, this kind of people, the KKK, have been having open demonstrations in the streets in the United States of America. And what then would you expect? Those people would be inspired by this kind of actions.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much for your analysis. Thank you very much for coming in today.